Hello, viewers and listeners. You are welcome to another episode of the program Midday Vibes, coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio, transmitting on 91.9. I am Hajara Usman Attajiri, your uncle for the show. The federal government has announced a ban on admissions and transfers of students into SS3 across all public and private schools nationwide. The directive is aimed at addressing the growing incidence of examination irregularities, particularly the use of special centers during external examinations. In today's episode of the program, we are going to discuss about the impact of this policy to teaching and learning, effects of the policy, and challenges in implementing this policy across diverse schools nationwide. Joining us in the studio is Dr. S.A. Tijani, HOD Department of Curriculum Studies, Faculty of Education, Sokoto State University. You are welcome to the program, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's dive in. Dr. Tijani, how effective do you think the ban on SS3 admissions and transfer will be in reducing examination malpractice?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I'm very delighted to be invited for this program. When we look at what is happening in the context of Nigeria today, we will understand that the issue of exam and practice is not only limited to SS3 students. It cuts across all the levels of education, primary, secondary, even tertiary institution. Then looking at this, when we look at the way the setting of our external exam is, like WAEC and NECO, we tend to have, even in the past, we tend to have external candidates. A candidate moving from one school to another school. It may be from urban school to rural areas, because there used to be a kind of centers, which is known as special center. In the special center, the candidates believe that if they register in this kind of center, they can pass their exam very well. So that is why they are moving to this kind of center. But looking at the ban given by the federal government of Nigeria on Sunday, precisely on 15 or 14 of this December, this month. So the reason why the federal government is banning the students from moving or the admission into SS3, according to the federal government, is to reduce the exam malpractice. But this kind of mechanism, is it effective? Then we can say it is just a short-term approach in addressing the issue of exam malpractice in our schools. So in other words, if the federal government is banning only secondary SS3 students moving from one school to another, this can be regarded as just a short term. Why do I say it is a short term? Because there is need for holistic approach in addressing the exam malpractice taking place even in primary school, taking place in other levels like SS1, SS2, as well as in tertiary institution. The government should not look only into this SS3, because there may be other conditions that may warrant students moving from, let's say for example, there are students moving from one country to another. So the same thing with students moving from one state to another. So as a result of this, we can say that this kind of approach, it will only reduce last minute exam shopping, what I can consider as exam shopping by the candidate, whereby who are seeking for the lenient center in order for them to pass. So in short, this kind of approach cannot be considered as being effective if the government is only limiting to only SS1, whereby other students in other levels of education are also engaging in exam malpractice. So that is why I say we cannot say this kind of approach can address exam malpractice that occur within the school themselves, because there are so many things happening in the school setting. So, for example, I'm in the university. There are students that have been rusticated for 2 semesters, for 1 semester, as a result of their involvement or engagement in the exam malpractice. Now, limiting to SS3, so we can say that the government is not approaching the issue holistically. It cannot be considered as an effective mechanism in addressing exam malpractice.
So do you think the government's approach is proactive or reactive?
So precisely the government cannot be considered as being proactive because it is just the government is reacting based on the report they receive.
Okay.
Or we can even say based on the roadside talk concerning the exam and practice happening among SS3 students. Why do I say this? The reason why I say the government is not proactive because there should be a basis for banning the transfer or admission of the student into SS3. What do I mean by basis? The government can conduct research to seek for the opinion of all the stakeholders in the education sector. They can seek for the opinions of the parents. Are the parents influencing the engagement of the students in exam and practice? Are the peers the students are moving with are influencing the students in engaging in exam and practice? So all these things should be addressed holistically, as I said earlier, not looking at roadside reports received by the Ministry of Education in banning the transfer or the admission of the student into SS3. So as a result of that, we can say the approach is reactionary rather than being proactive. So this is what I can say regarding this.
Okay. Will restricting students' movements and transfers into SS3 truly address the issue of exam malpractice?
Sincerely speaking, we cannot say it's actually addressing the root cause of the exam malpractice among the students because there are so many things happening in our school setting. Poor supervision is there. Even when you look at our own setting here, you can see many teachers are not doing their responsibility. Some are not going to their classes. Some, they are doing business within the school setting. Instead of taking care of the students, taking care of implementation of the curriculum, taking care of implementation of the syllabi that is being brought by the government. So what we are saying is that the root cause of the exam and practice by the student is not being addressed. When we look at other countries like Finland, the way they are addressing their own exam and practice is not a one-day ban given by the federal government of Nigeria. You look at Japan, the way they were addressing their own exam and practice is not the way we are addressing it here. When we look at our curriculum is too cumbersome. Finland is implementing a curriculum that they call it phenomenon-based curriculum. When you talk about phenomenon-based curriculum, it has to do with hands-on curriculum, activity-based curriculum. But in our own case, we are much concerned about certificates. We are more concerned about paper writing examination. Finland is implementing what they call minimal standardized tests, whereby the students are not being given so many content that they will not be able to assimilate that will make them engage in exam and practice. So as a result of this, we can say that restricting the movement is not addressing the root cause of our own challenge. There is need for reform of our curriculum in the context of Nigeria. There is need for the reform of our methodology, how we are teaching the pupils in the class. Are they really understanding the content or not? Until when the government put in place all essential things, like Japan, one of the mechanisms Japan is using is technology. The integration of technology into teaching and learning, it will motivate the learners. Then technology can be used to monitor the exam and practice activities in the school. Our government is not putting in place all these things essential for enhancing the understanding and the learning of the content by the students. Then the government is now banning the transfer or admission of the pupils. There is nothing wrong with that. But what we are saying, the approach should be more holistic than addressing only one side of the issue, addressing it at this SS3 level. Instead of taking care of SS1 as well, exam and practice taking place in SS1, taking place in SS2, taking place among the primary pupils, taking place in the university. When you look at the graduates Nigeria is producing now, you can see even our corpers, some of them, they cannot write 1,115 naira in words. Go to the bank, ask them to assist you to fill the teller. They cannot do it. Some, they cannot write, I graduated from University of Jos. They cannot write it down. So these are the challenges that the government is supposed to address holistically, not addressing only one side of the issue. So this is what I want to say concerning the question being asked.
Okay, thank you very much. So, how do you think this policy will affect students who transfer due to family circumstances?
Actually, this kind of policy, that is the concern now, because there are so many public servants in the context of Nigeria, maybe working with federal government. So let's say somebody is working in Sokoto and they want to get transferred to Lagos or to Kaduna or to Abuja. Getting transfer, and they have children who are already in SS3 and want to write the exam, and they may not want to leave their kids or their wets in the state from where they got their transfer from. So as a result of this, it's going to be a kind of a issue, so which will affect so many families.
Yes.
So affecting so many families in the sense that there are maybe genuine cases of parents moving from one state to another. The government is supposed to take this kind of issue, genuine cases, into account, into consideration. Not all the students taking transfer will definitely engage in exam and practice. So that is why the government should have looked into how many percentage, get a report of from WAEC and NECO, and see their report of how many children are engaging in exam and practice at 300 level while writing WAEC or NECO exams. So if they can do that, they will be able to understand the level by which the students are engaging in exam and practice. So not roadside decision making or policy without engaging the stakeholders in the education sector. So because we are politicizing so many things today, this is why the policy of the government is not effective. Making policy is one thing, implementing policy is another thing. So as a result of that, what we are saying here in essence is that there are genuine cases by some parents moving from one state to another. Then if the government is now banning all SS3 students, so there is going to be a kind of a crisis in implementing this kind of policy made by the government.
Okay, viewers and listeners, it's still your show Midday Vibe, coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio transmitting on 91.0. Okay, Doctor, will this policy impact schools' approaches to teaching and learning in earlier years?
Yes, there is no doubt that the policy will definitely impact the school. It will make a kind of a change as long as the government can implement the policy. When you look at national policy on education in Nigeria, the template, the document is very excellent. When you compare the document with other countries, you will consider Nigeria document on education as being excellent. But when it comes to the implementation, that is where the crisis is. So, but as I said earlier, that it is just a short-term decision making or ban by the federal government. So when you look at this kind of approach, it will make the school to be more serious about continuous assessment of the students, right from SS1 and SS2 before the exam class.
Yes.
Because when they understand that the student will not have an opportunity of maybe moving from SS1 and joining SS3 to write the exam,
Yes.
or moving from SS2 and joining SS3 to write the exam. So if this is happening, if the teachers know that this is happening, there won't be this kind of opportunity for the students to move from SS1 to SS3 in writing exam or SS2 to SS3 in writing exam. So definitely there will be seriousness about continuous assessment. There will be seriousness about the internal exam that the school is going to take the pupils. So then there will be seriousness about the academic preparation. So which may receive a kind of greater emphasis by the teachers, by the school authority, as long as the government is implementing the policy. As I said earlier, when we look at our policy, the implementation is a big issue. So definitely there will be another factor of curriculum coverage. Every teacher working in a school will be serious about the coverage of the curriculum, because the curriculum will be more structured and it will be more sequential in terms of implementation. Then the teacher may feel the pressure to complete the syllabi earlier. This is one of the challenge. There may be pressure on the teacher to ensure that the syllabi is being completed or covered. So these are some of the hindrances that may arise as a result of this kind of policy made by the government.
What message do you think this policy sends to students about the value of education?
Yes, when we look at, I think it is an interesting question. I used to say it even in my classes to my students that when you look at the context of Nigeria, when you go to Japan, if you are inside train and you forget something there, let's say for example you forget your phone inside the train or you forget your laptop inside the train, if you come back after 1 year, you still get the phone there.
Yeah.
No stealing.
But how?
Okay, you say how? I like that question. The reason why it is like that because they are focusing on value-based education. From kindergarten, they were cultivating in pupils that if you see something that is not belonging to you, don't take it. If you see a pen that is not belonging to you, don't take it. But in the context of Nigeria, you see people saying Allahu Akbar in the mosque and they are stealing people's shoes. They are stealing phones, stealing. So what we are saying is that our educational system is not based on values. If our education is based on values, nobody will steal. Nobody will become a professor and still be stealing government money. Nobody will have PhD and still be involving in corruption. So we are much more concerned about certificate than values. So this kind of policy will signal a kind of values onto the student that you don't involve in exam and practice, right? Or whatever you know during the exam. So don't involve yourself in exam and in practice. It will promote a kind of integrity. So integrity will be considered as central to certification. Because the reason why people are involving in exam and practice is because they want to get certificates without considering their own integrity, their own values. What are the values they are attributing to whatever they are learning? So what we are saying here in essence is that value-based education is very important. If Nigeria can go back to value-based education like what I said earlier regarding Japan, so definitely we are going to address so many crises we have in the context of Nigeria. So then it will send another signal that exams are more valued than learning. Learning is supposed to be more valued than the exam.
Yes.
But we are valuing exam than learning. That is why people are engaging in exam malpractice.
So what makes you say that people value exams
than learning? Yeah, the reason why I say this is that when you value exam than learning, by all means, even if you are not competent to have degree, you also want to get half degree. There are students that from UG1 to UG4 they engage in exam and practice. Why are they doing that? It's because they want to get certificates and they are less concerned about learning. You ask them simple question of what education is, they cannot answer it even after graduation. So which means their own certificate, the reason why they follow exam is because they want to get the certificate. Then once they get the certificate, they are less concerned about when they assimilate the content or not. So that is why learning should be more prioritized than exam. Learning should be more prioritized than certificates. That is why our own educational system today in the context of Nigeria is certificate oriented. Is even grammar oriented. If somebody is speaking big grammar, we will be shouting even without the content. If somebody is fluent in English, people will be praising him. Yeah, he's blowing big grammar. So which means we follow all these kind of things than value itself, than integrity itself, than assimilation of the content itself. So this is the situation we find ourselves in the context of Nigeria today. But if we can address all these messages, so definitely the student will get more motivation. If the student can get motivation to learn, they will not engage in exam and practice. But if there is no motivation for students to learn, then they will continue engaging themselves in that. Even the teachers working in schools, their salary they are collecting is not sufficient for them to take care of themselves, take care of the family. If you look at the context of UK, the primary pupils, the primary teachers, those who are taking kindergarten, the salary they are collecting is more than the salary of professors in the university. Why? Because they are the foundation of learning. They must take care of those primary kindergarten pupils. Teachers. If they can take care of them, they have a good foundation, they provide essential facilities. So definitely there will be a lot of improvement in terms of educational output in the context of Nigeria. So then it will reduce the engagement of the students in exam malpractice. So that is why my own concern is that we shouldn't limit exam malpractice to only SS3. It is happening in other levels of education as well, as I said earlier.
So, what challenges do you foresee in implementing this policy across diverse schools nationwide?
Okay, the challenges are so many. Number one, even currently, you look at our schools, we are very poor in record keeping. You go to country like Malaysia. If you go to Malaysia universities, if you graduate after 40 years, you go back there, your record will still be there. But in the context of Nigeria, our record keeping is very poor. So in a situation whereby we have bad record keeping, even the principals of the schools, they can manipulate that record to still bring the students into the list of the existing students in the school. You go to our hospitals, our records are very poor there as well. You go to every sector that we have in Nigeria today. Until the government integrate technology in record keeping, that is when the government can achieve this kind of, or can implement this kind of policy. So as a result of poor record keeping, then also the school capacity is also there. In some schools, there are no enough teachers to take all the subjects they are having in the school. So all these issues, they are challenged. That is why there are variations between one school and the other. In terms of capacity, there are variations between one school and the other in terms of record keeping. So even in some others, you go to one department or one unit now, ask them of the record of 2 years ago, they will not be able to provide it. So record keeping will be a challenge in implementing this kind of policy. Another issue is the risk of corruption or manipulation of transfer record. When you look at this now, let's say for example, if I'm a senator now, and I want my child to be transferred, and I give 200,000 or even 1 million to a principal, the principal will manipulate the record and put the name there. So the risk of corruption is there. The manipulation of the transfer record is also there. So these are the challenges that will hinder the implementation of this kind of policy in the context of Nigeria. Even look at the records by the federal government itself, there are challenges there. Because if there are proper record, our border will not be loose the way it is now. But you go to many countries now, you go to Malaysia, go to Thailand, go to Singapore. Once you enter their country, they snap your face, they have proper record. Their policemen, they have the record of everybody entering their country every day, going out. So this is the implication of having a proper record. Without proper record, the transfer record will be very loose. Then to implement that, then the existing corruption that we have in the country will see affect that. Unless the government address the issue of corruption, address the issue of proper record keeping in the school setting. That is when the issue of transfer and admission can be addressed. Then the issue of awareness is also there. We are in the city now. That is why we are talking about this transfer. Those who are in the rural area, they don't even know what is happening. This kind of message is not reaching them there. So the government is now bringing policy. There should be a kind of awareness. So creating awareness. Then, as I said earlier, integration of technology is very fundamental. So the government can curb this kind of issue of malpractice, whereby if WAEC is allowed to implement CBT exam, just like JAM is doing now, you may be sitting together with somebody, but you are not writing the same question. You cannot say what is option A there, because your own option A will not be the same as my own option A.
Yes.
So what we are saying here is that these are the challenges that we have in terms of awareness, limited awareness. Then we have underserved areas. We have remote areas that this kind of information, it will be even late to reach them. Then to implement this kind of policy in rural areas is very difficult, because most of the people going for rural areas, they consider even the rural area schools as special center, because it is easier to manipulate the exam question to involve in exam and practice there compared to the urban area.
Yes.
So these are some of the challenges. Then we have the weak coordination between the state and the federal government education agency. So there is no proper coordination between the state and the federal government education agencies. So if there is an effective coordination between the state and the federal government, so definitely this kind of policy can be achieved. So these are some of the challenges that need to be addressed as far as this policy is concerned.
Thank you very much. Okay, viewers and listeners, it's still your show Midday Vibe, coming your way from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio, transmitting on 91.9. We will take a short break and we will be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. In case you just joined us, this is Midday Vibes, coming to you from Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio, transmitting on 91.9. You want to be part of this conversation? The number to call is 090-6000-2022. And right here in the studio is Dr. S.A. Tijani, HOD Department of Curriculum Studies, Faculty of Education, Sokoto State University. Dr. Tijani, what do you think shall be done to ensure compliance with the directives by schools and educational authorities?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. In order to ensure compliance with this kind of policy of the government, number one, there is need for centralized student data and enrolling tracking. So the enrollment tracking, there is need to track the enrollment of the students. There should be proper or centralized data of the students. If the government can provide centralized data of all the students, even right from primary until tertiary institution, so this kind of approach would definitely help the education authority and school authority as well to ensure compliance with the policy of the government. Then there is need for regular audits and monitoring of the school records. There is need to monitor proper record of the schools. Maybe the Ministry of Education, for example, may be asking the school authorities to submit the record, maybe on timely basis, or maybe once in 2-3 months, for example. So doing that will definitely assist the schools and the education authority to have a kind of compliance regarding the policy of the government. Then there is also need for sanction for the school and officials who violate the policy. So if there is no sanction for the schools, if there is no sanction for any official that violate the policy of the government, definitely to implement the policy will be difficult. But if there is a sanction for that, so definitely it will address the issue of compliance. Then there is need for collaboration with the exam bodies for verification. So let's say, for example, when we look at WAEC, for instance, during marking of WAEC every year, they used to provide form for the exam and practice. But some examiner, they find it, because of the process, they find it so difficult to even fill the form. Why? Because the process is not easy and everybody is in hurry and the payment is not encouraging. So adding being the payment is encouraging, then people
Mm.
will take time to fish out those who are involved in exam and practice.
Yes.
Even at time you see the whole center copying the same thing.
Yes.
So it is happening. But if there is a collaboration between the exam body and the authorities, so definitely they can verify which student they engage or involve in exam and practice. So involving in exam and practice is not only affecting the student seeking for transfer or admission. Even the existing students who are in the school are also involved in exam and practice. That is why we are talking about effective and holistic approach in addressing this. So we shouldn't focus only on transfer students alone. So that is why there is need for collaboration between the exam bodies for verification about this. Then there is also need for public reporting mechanism for suspected violation. So at least the public should be involved. But involving public, the crisis is so multifarious. What do I mean by this? Like a few years ago, there was one of our students that got 6 carryover, and the parent called me and say, my child said he failed this course. Please, can you help me talk to the lecturers in charge, even if we are going to pay? I said, oh, I don't know any lecturer that used to collect money for that kind of thing. The only thing I know is to tell your child to get serious about the study and read and learn. So what we are saying is that the public itself, the parents are also contributing to this challenge. So that is why the government should create awareness about the danger of exam and practice. The government should create public awareness about the importance of values, about the importance of integrity, about changing the orientation of the public is also the responsibility of the government in order to ensure the compliance with this kind of policy.
So, what support system do you think should be in place for affected students and schools?
Thank you so much for this question. There is need for clear exemption guideline for genuine relocation cases, because there is no doubt there are genuine relocation cases. So maybe by the parent, maybe as I said earlier, parent moving from Sokoto to Lagos, for example, you cannot dispute this kind of genuine cases. So that is why, despite the fact that the government has already put in place the policy, there is need for clear exception guideline for genuine cases among the parents that are actually relocating. Then secondly, there is need for counseling and academic support for displaced students. So there is need for counseling, there is need for academic support, because some students involving or engaging in exam and practice has become part and parcel of them. So through the counseling unit of various schools, if the counseling units are being made effective, they can address this kind of issue. Before the student will engage in the final year exam, before he can engage in exam and practice in the final year, he must have started from what I can call low scale, either in JSS, low scale in SS1, low scale in SS2, before reaching that of SS3. So as a result of that, the counseling unit of various schools should be made effective. So then appeal mechanism and administrative guidance for school. There should be a kind of appeal mechanism and administrative guidance for the school. So despite the fact that the policy is already there, there is need to enlighten the head of schools on how to go about the implementation of the policy, not just put the policy there as a document. So putting the policy there as a document is one thing. The orientation of the educational implementers is another thing. So reorientating the teachers, the principals, the head teachers and others, and all the stakeholders, as well as the parent. So they are very, very important. So then there is need for temporary placement, bridging program for affected students. There is need to have a kind of program for affected students to ensure that even if their cases are genuine and they are moving to another place, they should not engage in exam malpractice. Then financial and logistical support for schools managing transition. So there is need for logistics as well. So the government is supposed to provide all this kind of thing rather than providing a template that to implement it may be difficult without necessary support by the government itself.
So, do you think there's other alternative in tackling the issue of exam malpractice in Nigeria beyond restricting students' movement?
Okay, thank you. Yes, there are so many alternative strategies that the government can use. Number one, they can strengthen exam supervision and invigilation system. So this is very important. Those who are the supervisors and the invigilators, if they are being paid well, there is no any side monetary attraction that will entice them in allowing the students to engage in exam and practice. Let's say, for example, when we look at our national exam bodies, like WAEC and NECO, if you interrogate the examiners, the complaint they are making is too much concerning the pay. The pay is very small, very low. So as a result of that, whoever is marking, if you see, I don't know whether you have the experience of marking a WAEC.
No, I don't.
So I have the experience. You see the marker, they are stressing up, sweating. So the stress of marking of the exam, either WAEC or NECO, is too much. But when you look at the pay, it's too minimal. So definitely you see this kind of examiner, you are being enticed with small amount of money, definitely you go for it. But if they can review the payment they are giving the supervisors, they are giving the examiners, so definitely it will be a kind of alternative strategies that will address the exam malpractice. So the use of technology, such as biometrics verification, so it's also very important. Just like what I said earlier, this is one of the approaches used in Japan to ensure that the students are not involving, not only Japan, many advanced countries, they are using this. So, and I know Nigeria is also using it, but how effective it is. That's why the fact that we're using it, people are still involved in exam and practice.
Yes.
You are in the exam hall, you can send students are sending exam question outside. Then they will get the information from the internet and bring it back. So these are some of the challenges that we have. Then reforming assessment to reduce of reliance on final exam. So our assessment is having serious issue. As I said earlier, everything we are doing is 2 paper based. So we need to change our approach to assessment. Let us make our assessment flexible. Let us use minimum standardized test. As I said earlier, that this is what Finland is using. One of the best education in the world today is Finland. Educational system of Finland is better than that of America and many other countries. How are they doing it? They are doing activity based. In Nigeria today, you see teachers writing, drawing mouse on the chalkboard. It is very funny. You see one school, they are drawing mouse. Instead of bringing mouse to the class for the student to see, drawing laptop on the chalkboard is funny. But in practicality, when you look at Finland, for example, if they want to teach the pupils how to bake bread, they take them to bakery. How to plant things, they take them to farm. But in the context of Nigeria, we are very funny. We can even be drawing maize on the board, on the chalkboard. So what we are saying here is that we need to reform our assessment method. If we can do that, it will encourage and motivate learners. Then we need to improve teacher welfare as well. So the welfare of the teachers is very important. A teacher who collects salary today, the salary cannot spend 1 week before it will finish. And somebody who is having a bike or having a car, want to go to work, he has to go and borrow money to fuel the car. So these are some of the psychological disturbance for the teachers. So as a result of that, we need to improve the welfare of the teachers as well. If we really want to achieve, this will be part of the holistic approach that we are talking. Then we need to enforce strict penalty for malpractice offenders. So there must be penalty for malpractice offenders, either promoted by the teachers, by parents, or by the students, or by anybody. It can even be by security himself. The security can also involve in this. So these are some of the alternative way by which you can address this issue holistically.
So, how can school foster the culture of integrity, like academic integrity among students?
Yeah, the school can achieve this by integrating ethics and value into our curriculum. Until we integrate ethics and value into our curriculum, that is when we can achieve the culture of integrity in our system. Without harmonizing values and ethics into the curriculum of our country now, we have nowhere to go. Because the generation we have now, that is why we need to start from scratch. We need to start from our kindergarten and implement similar curriculum that I said Japan is implementing until we cultivate in our pupils that if you see somebody's pencil, don't take it if it's not yours. Some pupils from kindergarten, if the parents open their bags, they are bringing other people's things home. And some parents will even feel happy instead of saying, don't bring this back tomorrow. I don't want to see this again. So until we integrate this ethics and value education into our curriculum, that is when we can actually address our challenge that we have in the country today. So you see a parent telling a child that, you see the amount of money I'm spending on your school fees. Once you graduate, you get to National Assembly, you should go and steal the money. So these are some of the issues. We're having psychological dirtiness. What do I mean by psychological dirtiness is because our mind is so dirty. That is why we are cultivating dirtiness into the mind of the pupils as well. So that is why ethics and value education should be our priority. Then integrity through transparent school practices. There shouldn't be, the school should not promote discrimination on the basis of being rich, on the basis of being influential, on the basis of coming from maybe from one particular family background. So if we can do all these things, definitely transparency will also help in addressing this. Then there should be a mechanism for rewarding honesty, effort, and continuous improvement. So let's say, for example, the teachers can have a kind of innovative idea, maybe dropping money inside the class and see who will actually return back the money among the pupils. Then whoever return back the money among the pupils should be rewarded for that. So we can promote all these kind of things. Definitely, it will address the challenge that we have. So even rewarding honesty among the teachers. Let's say, for example, if a teacher find 5 million within the school premises and return it back, other teachers will be saying, "Your life, you are finished." So these are the situations we find ourselves today. There was a taxi driver who got 5 million inside the car and returned it back. People were cursing him seriously to see the extent by which our country is being corrupt. So as a result of the rewarding honesty, you see somebody that is honest, reward the person, either in the school, either in any setting, reward the person. So then encourage student-led integrity club or peer mentoring. The school is supposed to have a program that can be called integrity-led clubs or peering mentoring, so that those who are having bad behavior can imitate those who have good behaviors. So if they can do this, definitely it will improve the system. Then engaging parents as well in promoting ethical academic behavior. This is also very important. So our PTA should be made effective in order to address all this kind of issue or addressing or promoting ethical academic behavior among the pupils. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. S.A. Tijani, for sharing your thoughts with us and for honoring our invitation. With this, we come to the end of today's edition of the program, Midday Vibes. I am, on behalf of our production crew and our guest, Dr. S.A. Tijani, HOD Department of Curriculum Studies, Faculty of Education, Sokoto State University. I am Hajara Usman Attajiri, saying stay blessed and keep watching Star Times on keep watching Caliphate TV on Star Times Channel 141 and Caliphate Radio, transmitting on 91.9.